Hey everyone, my name's Jackie. So this is a fairly new channel where I think what I want to do is talk about nursing, my process through being a nursing student into a nurse residency program, and then as well as just kind of my growth into being a nurse on my own, and then as well as some other topics, maybe such as like mental health and such. So today's video though is gonna be about ICU nurse residencies. I mean also just regular nurse residencies in general, but specifically towards the ICU and kind of what their interview process is like and what they are. So what a nurse residency is, it's kind of a transition into being a new grad into a nurse. So you're in a program, could be like 6 months to a year, could be less or more. And basically you take classes and you have your preceptor and they help you learn. It's kind of a period just to grow because I feel like you're gonna learn so much in that period, just kind of being in the hospital, taking those classes specified for whatever unit you are on. And so it'll really help you to grow as a nurse. So my interview process was, I don't know, pretty normal. So I graduated in December of 2020. Applications for my cohort started about August, September, and my interviews were in October, November. And so for people who are graduating in May, they may have applications due in January, February, maybe sometimes December, and then interviews can kind of range from February to April or maybe even May. So that's kind of the areas where you need to apply and just kind of get ready for the interviews. So biggie, obviously, for interviews is a resume. Everybody's gonna ask for a resume, y'all know that. So for my resume specifically, I started off with my education. If you have a good GPA, I don't know like the range, but if you have a good GPA, I would definitely, you can throw it on there, but just put where you went to school, what degree you have, all that jazz. And then certifications, you definitely want to put on there. That's what I believe I put next. So I had certifications, BLS, I had ACLS, PALS, stroke scale, team steps. So a lot of certifications that you get kind of will depend on where you want to work and what unit you want to be on. So I knew I wanted an ICU, so that's why I went ahead and got my ACLS and PALS, because I didn't know at what point if I wanted adult or peds. So I was super lucky in my school. It was the first year they did this, and they offered us, if we wanted to, classes to get our ACLS and PALS. So I took opportunity of that. And I think kind of having your ACLS, when I was going through my interviews, they were pretty impressed that you take that initiative and work towards your goal. Obviously, you don't have to have your ACLS. And if you are going into critical care, they will give you that class and they will pay for that class versus you paying for it on your own, which can be expensive. So if you either don't have the money or whatever your circumstances, it's totally fine if you don't have your ACLS. And if you get a critical care job, they will help you get your ACLS. So that's totally fine. Everything, all the certifications that you put on your resume, you want to make sure you're able to kind of explain them. Like some people didn't know what team steps is, so I had to be prepared to tell them what it is and how it helped me and what I learned from it and all that fun stuff. And then next you want to kind of go over your clinical experiences. So first, biggie, everybody wants to know is your practicum. I personally was super lucky to have my practicum in a surgical trauma ICU. So that was great, just having it in an ICU, and that kind of really helped me talk about why I wanted to work in an ICU. So having your practicum on there and just kind of showing what you learned and being prepared to talk about that, is going to be super helpful. And I also listed all the hours for everything, like all my clinicals and what my clinicals were for. I also worked in our nursing lab as a student worker, so like where you teach students new skills, help check them off, and answer any questions they have. So I put that on my resume, and I feel like that's all I can think that I put on my resume. I did make a cover letter. I can go into more detail about it if needed, or if anybody has questions, I can definitely answer any questions about it. I do honestly, though, feel like most people didn't look at the cover letter. It is kind of just like a summary of everything, but I don't feel like a lot of people looked at it, but I think it could be a good thing to just to put in there in case they do look at it, and it shows that you did put in that extra work. I also did have different people make reference letters for me, which was super nice of them. So the way I did that, I had about one person, one or two people for each hospital. And then I also had a generic, one or two generic letters that I felt like I would be able to use for different hospitals specifically. So that's it for resumes right now. Gonna kind of go on to the interview stage. So each interview I had was pretty different. So interviews, it can either be a panel where you're being interviewed by multiple people on a unit, or it could be multiple people from different units as well, or it could just be the nurse manager of the floor doing the interviewing. So it's different depending on which unit you interview for. It's just how they decide, you know. So I'd say interviews last about 30 minutes ish. So they'll ask you a bunch of questions. Most of the questions that I got asked, I'd say, were questions that I kind of expected for an interview to, like, you know, like what would be asked in an interview. So why do you want to work at this hospital? Why do you want to work at this unit? What is your top quality? I think I was asked to describe myself in one word. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And you want to be truthful with this. So I said that I want to get my CCRN and just like continue to grow. And you do want to say that you want to be there because they're spending so much time, effort, and money on helping you transition from a new grad to RN being on your own. So they do want to see that you will be there for kind of the long haul of 5 years. What other questions? I did get asked scenario-based questions such as, what would you do if a patient had this, or how would you deal with this type of phone call? Stuff like that. Tell me about yourself. I didn't really get asked that as much as I would. Like I had that answer just like good, you know, like down. Didn't really get asked that. They will ask you questions. I think I said this before, but they will ask you questions based off of your resume. So if they see you had a certain certification, they might ask more about it and all that fun stuff. Let me think. Other questions they asked me. I think one was kind of how you handle stress. I know I have a bunch of interview questions written down, so definitely practice beforehand. Go online, look up nurse residency interview questions, and just be ready for that. Also, why do you want to be a nurse? That's one of them, you know, stuff like that. And if anybody's interested, I can go over my list that I know I have and kind of answer any questions or help answer the interview questions and help you come up with an answer for that. But towards the end of the interview, they will give you the opportunity to ask questions. And with that, I definitely had a book of questions that I had along with each hospital's value and mission, just so you know, because you don't want to work for a hospital where you don't necessarily agree with their values or missions, or you might find a better fit. So you want to look up the unit as well. So if the unit has won any awards, maybe you could bring that up during like, why do you want to work here? You could say that you saw they got this award and that's a huge accomplishment and that you would love to be a part of their team, stuff like that. But you want to make sure all of your answers are not rehearsed too much to where it's like you're talking like a robot and you're just saying the same things over and over, you know? Definitely show your passion for nursing. I think one of them at the very end of my interview just kind of asked like if there's anything extra that they felt they should know about me. And so with that, just definitely show your passion for nursing and how you're working towards your goals and how much effort you want to put in to this position. And also going back to questions that you want to ask, definitely ask questions. And it is okay if you have the list in front of you and ask them, well, I actually made a list of questions that I did have for you. I have the list in front of me. Is it okay if I look at that? Everybody I interviewed with loved that you had that set in front of you. And they were like, absolutely, ask any questions you want. So questions I asked are like, what type of support system? What's the environment and culture like? What can I do if I were to get the job to be prepared, you know, or what's the best thing I could do to prepare myself? I don't know if I said this. What are the opportunities for growth on the unit? Just stuff like that. I do also have like that huge list. Or also you can ask them, what are you guys looking for in a new hire for a nurse resident? So yeah, those are questions to ask. I was definitely going to say something else. So yeah, I did end up getting a job in an ICU as a nurse resident. And so it depends on when you start. Some jobs you start in the next month, next month, or some give you a few months. Mine gives me a few months. Like I don't start until next month, which is totally good because you get a break and everything. And you do have time to kind of take your NCLEX. I took mine in January after graduating in December. Passed. Thank goodness. So yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. I don't know. So just make sure during your interviews, whether it's ICU, critical care, any like med surg, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you show your passion for what you want and just work towards your goals. And honestly, I think it'll be okay. Every nurse residency program is different, so look into it and don't be afraid to ask questions, even to the recruiter about the nurse residency program. They're there to help you. They're there to answer your questions and kind of guide you along the way. Even if you get offered the job, like my nurse recruiter worked with me kind of throughout the whole process. I'm still working with her until I start my job. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Sorry if it was kind of everywhere. This is my first time. I would love to make more videos and kind of maybe make it, you know, like more structured. I'm really trying. So yeah, if you have any questions about literally anything, let me know below and have a great day. I'll see you guys next time.